Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Wednesday, September 14, 2022. So here's the news. And I don't want you to laugh so hard that it wakes up your entire neighborhood because it's kind of early still as I'm doing this video blog. But this is the bullshit they're trying to sell us this morning here. So, let's just back up. Yesterday, we got this absolutely abysmal inflation report, which took everybody by surprise. Oh yes, the mainstream commentators, they just don't get it. They don't understand it. I mean, come on. You can't make this stuff up if you try to. It's in your face. You and I clearly knew that this report was going to be miserable. And the next one's going to be miserable. It's just not going to stop. Inflation is not going to stop surging because it's being driven higher by design by central banks. But this is what they're selling us this morning. Are you buying? Okay, so the producer prices are moderating. So what they want us to believe here is it's costing less to produce goods than it was, let's say, just 2 months ago. How about there is no way on earth that this is happening here? Okay, the cost of raw materials continues to rise. The cost of labor is getting more expensive, but they want us to believe, oh, really? They want us to believe it's now costing less. You see what they're doing? They're trying to sell you yet another lie, like transitory, like temporary, like peaking. They're throwing this out here as some kind of a sign that things are moderating. Moderating. That's the word they use all the time. Moderating, when they're trying to sell you some kind of crap. And I think you know that too. You can't make this stuff up. Now, here we go. Here's some more economic news. So mortgage rates for the first time since 2008 hit 6%, and that's if you got good credit. Okay. Meanwhile, mortgage applications, this is pretty incredible, hit their lowest level in nearly 25 years. Interesting. So how is it that, let's see, our mummified Frankenstein president is continuing to try to sell you the lie that our economy is strong, everyone's doing great. Yesterday's inflation report was promising, okay, and we're just doing absolutely fantastic. You can't make that up either. And then we got a warning here from Goldman Sachs, and they're, again, this is the second time talking about major weakness in the housing market. Well, yeah, duh. If you got mortgage applications here hitting their lowest level in nearly 25 years, home affordability is still way out of control. Housing itself is in a major bubble. How do you know it's in a bubble? Okay, I've covered this before, but I'm getting a lot of new subs lately. How do you know when any asset, is in a bubble? It's very, very simple. When the price of an asset gets beyond the ability for the average guy or the average girl making an average salary to buy it, you have a bubble. It's that simple. I know there's a lot of other definitions here, but this is mine. I came up with this many, many years ago. It just makes sense to me. Think about it. If an average person making an average salary is priced out of, let's say, the housing market, with the average price of housing being whatever it might be, well then, it's a bubble. It's that simple, at least in my view. And I'd love to hear your definition of a bubble, seriously. So on the back of yesterday's pretty profound sell-off on this abysmal report here, and again, nothing on this planet or off the planet aggravates me more than hearing, and it was this morning again on Bloomberg, I'm watching Bloomberg this morning, about what the Fed's going to do. Oh, we might get a larger than 75 basis point rate hike next week. It's all about what the Fed's going to do moving forward, not what they've done. And there's no accountability at all. I really cannot believe that the Federal Reserve in no way is being held to account for what's going on. Look, no central bank is. How many times for how many years have I explained to you that there is not going to be a single world leader that's going to point their finger at a central bank and say they're the ones that are causing the problem. They're the root cause of the problem. The central banks run the global financial system. Central banks run the economy. It's, Yellowstone Powell, the Fed chair, he himself said inflation is largely a product of monetary policy. So if the Federal Reserve is the one controlling it, and they're the ones obviously that are creating it, when is it going to be held, anyone going to be held to account? It's not going to happen. Never. All you're going to hear about is what they're going to do about it. Oh yes, they're going to raise that federal funds rate again, and this time it's going to make a difference. This time it's going to be different. Look, this is a crushing mechanism here. The Federal Reserve is in no way, shape, or form at all zero, double zero, okay? Trying to stop inflation. In fact, what are they doing? They continue to inflate along with other central banks because that's what they must do. The debt-based economic model, people, I'm going to cover it again here, demands that cash be pulled into the now from the future in greater and greater amounts. It can't even remain static. Otherwise, the whole system implodes. And no one's going to tell you that. No one is going to tell you that that's the nature of the debt-based economic model. So that's why you and I realize central banks must continue to inflate. They can't stop. All the talk of nonsense about how central banks want to do something about inflation. Yeah, what they want to do is continue to pressure an entire class of people as they fulfill their end game, which is to, again, my God, you know this, to wipe out an entire class of people on a worldwide scale, going back to a feudal system. And that's where we are. Anyway, looking over at the stock market this morning and the 10-year yield. Last time I looked at it, 3.35. All right, market doesn't like this. Now, it could stabilize here. I'm going to cover this again because I continue to get bombarded with questions. My email box lights up like a Christmas tree. Okay, look, please pay attention to this. It's really not so much what that number is, all right? What the 10-year yield is, although the yield curve continues to be, it's the most inverted in history, which is pointing towards obviously a major economic slowdown, but Janet Yellen doesn't see it, no, neither does President Mummy Man himself, no, everything is fantastic, and neither does any Fed president or Fed chairperson, oh no, everything's great, can't make it up. Anyway, that number, the 10-year yield number, it could settle here, it could even settle higher. But it's the pace at how we're getting there. Now, global bond yields are continuing to rise, people. This is a sign of instability in the debt market. You know that. And I'm going to just say it again. If the central banks don't get a handle on this or they just allow this to continue, forget about melting down the stock market. What we saw yesterday, walk in the park, compared to what would actually happen in a full-on meltdown of the debt market. It's a credit freeze. It's a locking up of the financial system, which is our real danger, a clear and present danger. Okay, and that's going to happen by design. Again, central banks want to get rid of the current system, all right, and they want to issue in a new debt-based system. Again, how do central banks keep their power? One way, by keeping the debt-based economic model going. Now, what they're going to do here is they're going to allow the current system to just go away by letting it implode, and that's going to, again, start in the debt market. The action we're seeing now in the debt market clearly is a sign that things are not good here, and it's going to hit the stock market, especially if the dollar keeps getting stronger. I've been covering this at length. So 10-year yield is important, yes. It's the pace at how fast bonds are selling off and that spiking in the 10-year yield that's the real problem. Okay, if this gets offset here with a weaker dollar, the market's going to tolerate it just fine. But yesterday, what an epic move in that dollar or the Dixie, the relative strength of the dollar. The dollar's absolute strength is evaporating. Henceforth, why we're seeing inflation surge. You understand? And with the action of central banks continuing to inflate using their policymakers, they're not yours, to come up with things, acts or policies that require more funding, like the Inflation Reduction Act, costing hundreds of billions of dollars. It's massively inflationary. You're not allowed to know that. Imagine if a policymaker had the guts to stand up and say, look, guys and girls, this is what's really going on. You're being duped on an epic scale. So anyway, look, you know what to do. And that's really, look, I could sit here and talk, and that's all well and good. But what are you going to do about it? If you understand the situation here, you know what to look at. Instability in the debt market, this has to slow down. Or the stock market's going to melt down. That's okay, all well and good. But it's a lockup of the system globally. That is the real problem. And then the central banks issue in their new system of maximum control. And that's what they're going to do. And they need a massive outcry to allow that to happen. People aren't going to buy it. People are not going to want to participate or be forced to swallow a new system with a lot more control. So they need a massive outcry. They need more people dependent on the system. What do you think is really going on? If you follow this blog, you know what's going on. They're creating people, more and more people who are dependent on the system itself. More slaves to the system. So they'll back it up. People like you and me, we don't want to deal with this. But unfortunately, that's where we're going. A global system of a lot more control. A one world government run by the central banks, which is essentially what we have now. The rest of it is nothing else but theater. I don't know another way to say this to you. All right, so anyway, that's the story this morning. So again, do you buy the bullshit that wholesale inflation is, are you ready for the word? It's moderating. It's moderating. Really? How is that happening with the cost of everything going up here? Yeah, and they want to sell you that kind of nonsense. No. The price of wholesale goods to produce these things is higher, but they want you to believe that wholesale inflation is moderating. Yeah, okay. I don't think you buy that. Then you got this warning from Goldman on the housing market. Okay, no surprise here. It's out of control. Out of control. All right, look, I'm out of here. We covered a lot of stuff. Please comment. Please share the video. Let me know what you think. You know what I'm going to say. I'll see you later.